Hello. Hello. Okay.
How are you all?
Good. Good. Good.
Hello,
Hello.
hello.
Hello, Keith.
There's
Hello
Keith.
there, everybody.
Hi, Keith.
Yeah,
Hi.
I bow to you all.
Hello. Hello.
I just to let you know, my phone's probably going to be ringing. I told this guy said he'd call me back at 7, but he didn't. And if I have to go answer the phone, I'll just tell him I'll talk to him tomorrow at around noon. Oh, there it is. So I'll be back in a second.
Okay.
It's going to be warm tomorrow, John.
It is going to be warm tomorrow? Oh, good.
Fairly warm, yeah.
Good.
Good. Yeah.
I hadn't checked the weather recently. I know it was kind of cold today.
Yeah. It started out pretty cold.
It's supposed to get warmer and warmer, and I think it like hit 60 degrees on Saturday or something.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
That's
That'll
very
be
good.
great.
So I take
We're
it then
not
the
used-
little groundhog didn't see his shadow.
Well, he did see his shadow.
He did
Oh, he
see
did?
shadow.
Oh,
Yeah, he
okay.
predicted 6 more weeks of winter.
6 more weeks of
Wow.
winter. Yeah.
All right. Oh, yeah, it looks like, yeah. Oh, but wow. Yeah. Looks like
Yeah,
all the
isn't that
temperatures are really
wonderful?
getting up. Yes, it's very
Yes.
nice. Very good.
Yeah.
Oh, I just unmuted myself.
That's cool. I only muted you because I knew you were going to be on the phone and I didn't know
Yeah.
if you were going to mute yourself or if we were going to hear your conversation. So I muted you, especially
Yeah,
since
but-
we're recording it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went in the other room and turned out it wasn't the expected call, so I might get another one.
Okay.
Okay.
And yeah, I just said that 6 more weeks of winter, you can't tell by any predictive ability what we're going to get as far as, it may seem like we're not going to get that long, but
Keith, you just had another snow event, right?
yes, we did. And we got bombed fairly well. How about you guys? Didn't?
No.
No more snow. No more snow. No.
Well,
It
it's gonna be 60
rained all
degrees.
day.
It's going to be 60 degrees here on Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
Mhm.
Yeah, it rained all day on Friday because I drove down to Ocean City for a little retreat and a whole way down it was raining.
Oh, yuck.
Mhm.
Drove to where?
Ocean City for a retreat.
Oh, that's
It's called Footprints in the Winter Sand. It's from the group that I,
uh-huh.
Mhm.
Okay.
It's the ocean. It's
Yeah.
the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I spent the weekend down there and then it was nice. The drive down was rainy, but the rest of the time was
Got
good.
better. Mhm. Good.
And plus where we were, the conference was in this one hotel. So you just had to go down from your room to the conference, to eat, to the room. So you were all self-contained, which was nice.
Yeah.
I guess we can welcome Poonam.
Yes. Hello.
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 Someone new. Actually, were you here last week?
Yes, I was there. Yes,
Okay, good. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
Really, I really enjoy hearing your talks and learn so much from it.
Good.
Good. Yeah.
In fact, I wanted to ask you if you have written any book or which I can read. I love hearing all the talks.
We have the YouTube channel and we have some, I can put in the chat where the actual, because there's a website that has like some kind of stuff that
Okay.
you might have an interest. I'll give you the one from these talks, and I'll also give you Sri Ramakant Maharaj.
Yeah, your channel I've seen on YouTube. I've couple of talks I've heard, and I just wanted to know if you have written any book.
No, I have not.
Okay.
You do write occasionally. You write comments to on forums, maybe, or
Okay.
There for a while, on that link that I just put in the chat, I was doing Cura, where it was like a question and answer thing. I did that a couple of years ago just to,
Okay.
I stopped doing it though, but I was doing it for a while. So there's some stuff in there.
Okay, great. I'll
Yes.
read it.
Good,
and
good.
also it's a little curious. When I Google John Richards and it connects with, it mentions John Richards author. I don't know why it does that.
That's not me. There is a John Richards that is the author or did something with, I'm trying to remember what the name of the book was. Very famous book, but that wasn't me.
Oh.
It was not me, but it was something, it was a Gita, might have been, oh, rats. I remember a while ago, because when I used to be on Facebook, people would ask me all the time, is that you? No, it is not. That is not
Do you
me.
have a Facebook account too, Mr. John?
I do not anymore. Not since,
Okay.
I guess, 2017. So.
Thank you so much for all your there are no words to express such great treasure that
Guru.
you are giving everybody.
Jai Guru.
There are no words for that treasure, really.
Jai Guru.
Well, since I'm usually the one that speaks up, I did notice today I had very good experience of early in the day. I just know I was looking at my dreams and thinking about sleep and if there's a difference between sleep and waking. Anyway, somehow I started seeing like the nothing and everything. And somehow that became very evident that the nothing that makes everything possible. And it's just been a good day since then of being able to feel peace and so I'm glad that it seems to be having an overall effect. And I was thinking about how this is one way of putting it. I noticed that when I give in to believing what thoughts seem to be indicating, it's almost as if I'm selling out my soul for the sake of believing that there's some kind of reality to my experience. You see what I mean by selling out my soul?
Well, I mean, you're dissolving into the landscape, which will happen, as there's less of a personal kind of consciousness, meaning you're not traveling along with thoughts about personal stuff. You'll see this quote universal consciousness open up, and you can be in a room filled with people. And when you're not kind of mentating about yourself or continuing this concept of a local identity, the room basically opens up and you can see like, okay, this is the consciousness. It's not inside here. It's all of this is inside of that. And yet still, again, that entire world has been projected on your presence, just as in a dream. It's exactly the same in a dream. because this formlessness, there's form within the formlessness. And you don't know it's a dream until you wake up and you realize, wow, that seems so real. But in reality, it was just the consciousness that's creating. So if you sit in a room and say there's 20 people there, if you're not conceptualizing a local identification, then it's just a room. And you're not even going like person to person of people can be speaking, but it's just speaking going on. It's not a particular person speaking. Nor also is there any trouble in you where you say, oh, this person might be speaking too long, or they might be speaking too, too fast, or they might be speaking about something totally off the topic of everybody else speaking about. You don't have that because there's no you. As you're removing the local identification of this, I am something, then the world opens up. And then you very much understand, oh my God, like this entire world is exactly like a dream. It's just coming from the formlessness. And there is no identification because I'm not identified as something. So there are just objects moving around. Speaking is happening. Movement is happening. But there's no deed, no doer. And this is impressed. And that is what happens as you remain with your selfless self. You are erasing the limited identification. And without this limited identification, this conceptualizing, this attaching to some kind of a mind stream as I am something, then you're free. Of course, you're free anyway, but the conception of being limited is gone. And you can just sit in a room where there are people, and when there's not a you, there's no others. It's just speaking and moving and this and that, and you can respond because there's response, because there's no individuality. You don't have to sit there and think about what you're going to say or how you're saying it or what might be the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do or any of these. It's all spontaneous action, which it is anyway. You're just starting to catch glimpses of the reality because the layers of illusion are being removed. And the more you spend the time with your own self, the more these layers of illusion can no longer attract you. You would rather be with yourself than with all this layers of illusion. So as you're saying, you say, you know what, there's times where I feel like I really experience that oneness, like I really experience that presence. And it's because it's nothing new. Like Maharaj says, we're not teaching anything new. You're removing concepts and discovering the reality that has always been there.
Yeah, so this way, okay, I said that I asked you if you knew what I meant by selling out, and actually, if you were to agree with that, that would imply that there is a me that can sell out, but actually, it was just my way of describing. It's a way of describing what I felt, but it's not necessarily means that that's that it's happening according to that description. It's just like a sort of, as if there was a me that could sell out.
Well, again, you could say that you're selling the false, or you're giving up the false so that you can keep the real, because the real you can't give away.
Right. That's sort of what I meant,
And this is perfect.
Yeah.
The less you get involved in the falseness, and when you say selling your soul, number one, soul is a concept, because when you came along with soul, you came along with the body, you knew yourself, and then suddenly there were all these concepts. You heard about soul, what happens after the body dies, the little soul that jumped into the body, and all this kind of stuff. And it's not like that. And you've experienced this now, this universal kind of taste of the reality, because when there's less you, then there's reality is there.
Mm-hmm.
When you're not limiting yourself, there's no local identification because you're not identified with a thought stream as something inside this head, which is trying to convince me that I am something. You just are. The just I without anything. Nisargadatta Maharaj says the I am, the sense of existence, I exist, just this subtle sense, I am. And because of this, everything is. The birth, so to speak, was the knowledge I exist. When the knowledge I exist is no longer there, that's what we call death. But the one to whom I exist and to whom there is no sense of existence, that is your own self. And everything that has been added on to this I exist, which the first thing is, I exist as this form because I'm seeing a world. And we talked about before, the space in the room clicks with a lump of goo and sees all these objects inside the room and forgets it's the space in which all these objects, including this object, this body, is in. It forgets I am space. I have no attributes. And everything is occurring within my own self. So even the sense of doership is not there because this is just a little object within myself that's moving around, as are all the other objects. So if I want to say I'm a doer, then I'm doing everything. Because without this sense of presence, and this Maharaj says all the time, remove the sense of presence from this body, and it's a dead body. We know this. It's just a lump of goo that deteriorates. So that's the same with all the bodies out there. They're just lumps of goo animated by the formless presence that you are. All believing that mind, ego, intellect, which all came along with the body. But prior to the body, you are.
One thing that seemed to help me the other day was I happened to read some guy. He was just he wasn't a writer or nothing, but he left a comment on a forum, and he mentioned defocusing, and I connected with that at the moment. I realized, well, yeah, I can defocus from my usual thoughts of what I think is and isn't. And I was just sort of like doing a every time a thought popped up, I defocused and went into the space. I thought that was pretty interesting that worked.
Well, defocus would just be, I would say, turn inward focus,
It's
which
same
is
with
what
mantra.
Maharaj says, remain with your selfless self.
And I
Be
noticed
with you always.
it was the same thing, the same sense came with if I did mantra, if I defocused or if I did mantra.
Yeah, you don't want to add more concepts. And that's why Maharaj says continuously, it's okay. You want to listen to somebody else or read some books or whatever, but just understand that a lot of that books out there is people who have an understanding and they grasp that concept. And that concept is within the bubble of illusion, as are all concepts. You want to discover your own self where you're outside the bubble of illusion because you absolutely know that the bubble of illusion has appeared to you. You're formless, so the entire world, you can disregard it in 1 second. Even if you just close your eyes, you can still see, correct? You see like just nothing, but you see, there's seeing, but the eyes are closed. This has totally eliminated the body. And since the body is eliminated, also the world is eliminated. It's no longer in your experience. You're having no experience of the world. So yet there's something there that is still seeing without the use of body, and the world is completely gone. So then if you want to say defocus, you focus on this that is seeing with no world and no body. And this subtle sense of presence arises. And then you know even this is not me. Or not like this sense of existence, this I am. You know this. So you can't be that. And you just sit here. So now where are the books about focusing and defocusing, or you know, like some people will talk about the pain body and all these sort of things, all these concepts. But just for 1 second, close your eyes. You're still seeing. So obviously world is gone, body is gone, and they're still seeing formlessly within your own self.
John,
Yes, go ahead.
John, what is time without the concept and without the illusion? What is time?
Time came along with the body. You need an object and movement and space
what
to
is it?
create time.
But yes, but what is no time? What is timeless?
Well, it's the absence of the concept of time. Time is a concept that came along with the body. Again, formlessness is without any attributes.
Formlessness is without time.
Without attributes. The concept
Without
of time came
attributes.
along with the body.
So it's timeless, but everything that appears is part of the concept of time and the illusion.
Within the illusion, you have concepts, and you can have the concept of time because you also have objects. You have a local identification in which to measure time. But without the illusion or without the sense of something other, there is no time. But there's also not timelessness or eternity, so to speak, because eternity is also a concept that came along with the body. Everything that came along with the body is absolutely conceptual. And that's where we get time, we get cause and effect. Every question that we ask has to be based on a body and the knowledge that we've acquired using the body. That's where all our questions come from. And that's the only thing that the mind can think about, because the mind came along with the body and experienced a world. But you're prior to this. Completely, like formlessness and form cannot, only form can be an appearance within the formlessness that you are. But there's no marriage between form and formlessness. And
There's no attribute, and it's timeless. Timeless and eternity is just another concept.
correct.
That's what you said.
Correct. This
So
sense of existence, this sense I am, this just I, there's no time there. Time begins with identification of a body, and okay, now I have a local identification and I can begin time. I also see a sunrise and a sunset, but the true reality doesn't see a sunrise or a sunset. All of this is occurring within the illusion. Again, just like in the nighttime, you lay down for a dream and you see a sunrise or a sunset. And yet, if someone was sitting outside of you while you were sleeping, they would say, oh, it's dark, but you're dreaming of a sunrise.
Yeah.
Because neither is true.
So the formlessness has no attributes.
And even the concept of attributes is not there.
Okay,
Nothing, nothing,
nothing.
nothing,
Nothing.
nothing, nothing. Because any relation to something had to come along with duality and the knowledge of existence, the knowledge of something,
Mhm.
the knowingness of something other. And the first knowingness is this sense of presence, I exist. And then the local identification, I exist as this body. Here's a mom and a dad. I'm the concept of mom and dad because mom and dad got together and said, we're having a child. So then they sort of impressed that concept on this lump of goo and said, you are our child. And the sense of existence that sort of felt itself for the first time because of this body, you say I, and mom and dad are there, and they, believing themselves to be parents, have now created the concept of you. And then they label that concept and they say, this is our son.
Mhm.
In reality, two lumps of goo and the biological process of goo creating another little lump of goo, that's what happened. And pigs do it, and horses do it, and cows do it, and humans do it. And it's nothing other than you. The idea of you was a concept that mom and dad had. Oh, look, we're having a baby, and that baby is you. And you, just like the space in the room, clicks with this lump of goo and looks around and sees a world. And now I have two people there, mom and dad, who are interpreting this world for me. I knew nothing of anything, and now I know things. And I wrongly identify with this body as a local identification, rather than the space or the sky, which is much more true to my nature.
Yeah. Mhm.
And most troubling then, because I've identified with a body, I come along with the concept of death, because I see other bodies in
Yeah.
which the same formlessness that knew it existed is now no longer knowing existence. And I say, oh, that person died. And that can happen to me.
Yeah.
And yet the space in the room could click with 4 other bodies in this room, all believing themselves to be separate. And yet at the same time, it's just the space in the room. And when one of the bodies dies, the space has not changed. When all the bodies die, the space has not changed. There's no knowing of a concept of a world within this space, but nothing has changed. No gain, no loss.
Just die, just die.
Just die, just die. Without the knowingness of this I.
Okay. Mhm.
So, John, it's very similar to a dream, right? Where we cannot control the dream. The dream plays on its own, and the script is already there. And similarly, we have to live our lives, because sometimes the ego finds it difficult to accept the things that happen. Sometimes, like, it might not happen the way you want, or that time, at that moment, when some anxiety comes and something bad happens or something, that time it's very difficult to deal with it. So that time we have to have this strong conviction that it's a dream of consciousness. I mean, of course, there's no I. Everything is being done by awareness. But that time, when that moment comes, when there's the anxiety situation or something, that time, how do we have this strong conviction that it's a dream?
When you know yourself in a real sense, it can't be anything other than that.
Hmm.
When you remain with yourself, you could say again, you remain with the sense of presence. And yes, that's a duality. Myself remaining with presence. I worship this presence as God, or as my concept of God. And then there's a knowing after a time of worshiping this. Number one, you'll be devoting all your activities and all your actions and everything to this presence. You will be knowing that this presence is always there. You'll be focused on this presence more than illusion. Your mind will start to slow because you'll no longer be identified as something limited. And therefore, you won't be having a life. You will just be. And these things that seem to be happening in your immediate realm are not taken as harshly because there's no you there. You just remain with your selfless self. No destiny, no time, no anything, just scenes appearing and disappearing, and you're in it, and then you're over here, and then this scene is appearing, and that scene is appearing, and it's just a constant flow, spontaneous action in the moment with no deed, no doer. So anxiety is not because there's no you in it. Like we talked about a no dog in the fight. You know, literally you're neutral. You're placed in a position where, okay, this is happening. Oh, this is happening, but nothing is happening.
Nothing is touching the space that you are.
Exactly. Exactly. If someone's giving you a hard time, you identify more with the space in the room than with the two objects that are within the room. And when this is occurring, then they're speaking. And even if they're speaking in kind of a rough way, it doesn't affect you because you are more like the space than the objects within the space.
Just like a dream.
Just like a dream.
So in a dream, you might think, oh, this character is fighting with this character or something bad is happening, but actually nothing is happening.
Exactly.
And you're the one who's watching from the back and nothing is affecting you. Actually, you're safe and sound, sleeping over there. Exactly like that.
Yes.
So that's where they say you have to accept everything that happens, arises in consciousness. Whatever happens, accept it. Like don't try to that when you are not able to accept, that's what creates the anxiety and everything, the problems.
When you say I don't like this, then you create a sense of an I that doesn't like something. And then the flow of thoughts of this should be other than it is, which is insanity, really, when you think about it. Like I may not like that it's raining. I just got my car washed. And if I sit there and I say, oh my God, it's raining. I just got my car washed. I can't believe it's raining. Now I have to get my car washed again and all that. But that's insanity because how are you going to stop the rain? It is raining.
So whatever is arising in consciousness is what is.
Is
the
what
script.
is.
It's the script.
And that's why they say, like in a lot of different various, again, body-based religions, they say acceptance, they say surrender. In reality, there's nothing to surrender other than this false sense of autonomy, individuality.
Yeah.
But in reality, if you believe yourself to be something, then yes, you need to surrender this concept. And by surrendering this concept, all you have to do is remain with your selfless self. Because the more you remain with this just die, this sense of presence, and like you see this dream, okay, I lay down at night, this body is sleeping. There's a sense of existence that mixes with nothing, and something appears, this entire dream world. All the characters in it are myself. I've created the sun, the moon, the stars, the rivers. I can create taste, feeling. I can even create a body for my own self. But it's coming out of formlessness. You know this when you wake up. Well, the waking up here is to know yourself in a real sense and have the conviction, oh, so that I am that. And all of this is just appearance. That you are. So it's just a very light, now enjoy, you know? You know this entire,
The game of forgetting. It's a game of forgetting.
It's here. Enjoy. Do your job, do your duties, do the best you can. You know, you enjoy shopping, do some shopping. You enjoy going on a picnic, go on a picnic. Whatever you enjoy doing, do it. And if something doesn't go, you know, right or whatever, nothing's happening. There's no deed, no doer. Spontaneous action in the moment. And the more you know yourself in a real sense, the actions are completely spontaneous and you don't have time to think because it's just scenes.
Right.
There's just scenes appearing and you're moving and working and doing these things and another scene and another scene. Like you're channel surfing, basically. You stop on something for a little bit of time, and see, that's the cool thing. If you've ever channel surfed like late at night, you might stop and watch like 7 minutes of something and be totally involved in it, but then boop, you just change. What else is on? And that's life. It's like spontaneous action in the moment and scenes just appearing and disappearing.
And then feelings also keep changing whole day. Like sometimes you're sad, sometimes you're happy, sometimes bored, sometimes some thoughts. It's just so adventurous. Every time the awareness is creating all kind of things.
And this is just like, again, there's disturbance in the 5 elements. You have rain, you have a sunny sky, and then you have a very cloudy sky. Then you have lightning, then you have snow. Then you might have a flood. All of these are just changes, but there's no one changing. You know, if the river had a consciousness, so to speak, and was saying, oh my God, it's raining and I'm filling up and I'm going over the banks and it's getting very muddy and trees are falling, what to do? But no, it's just a disturbance in the 5 elements and they come and go. As long as we are holding this body form, there will be a disturbance in the 5 elements. And that's not a problem. Sadness or whatever, see, depression has to have a mentation behind it. It has to be, I am sad. Sadness can just be a feeling that comes and goes.
Yeah.
Depression is, I am sad. And then doing a Google search for every experience I've ever had of being sad so I can remain in the sadness. Because all my attention and focus is off myself and on this conceptual sadness, which then becomes depression. So just like anger, okay, you can be angry in the moment, but if you're like raging, again, that requires an object, a creation of, I am angry. Anger may come and go, sadness may come and go, happiness may come and go. That's another one. You can say, well, you know, I'm very good when anger or sadness, they can come and go, but happiness, why do I let happiness come and go? Well, because there's going to be the pain and pleasure concept evolving because there's now a someone who wants to be happy. Happiness may be there, that's fine. And knowing yourself in a real sense is that spiritual intoxication, the most happiness of happiness.
Yeah.
Because that just I, feeling that sense of presence just